Peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll. Whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well, it is well with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul, with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul. Though Satan should buffet, though trials should come, let this blessed assurance control, that Christ has regarded my helpless estate, and hath shed his own blood for my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul, with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul. My sin, oh, the bliss of this glorious thought. My sin, not in part, but the whole, is nailed to the cross, and I bear it no more. Praise the Lord, praise the Lord, oh my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul, with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul. And Lord, taste the day when the faith shall be sight, the clouds be rolled back as a scroll, the trump shall resound, and the Lord shall descend. Even so, it is well with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul, with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul.
We invite you to stay tuned for the live broadcast of the Wednesday evening Bible study of Mayfield Drive Baptist Church, located in Smyrna, Tennessee. We will now join the service.
All right. Thank you for joining us. hope you're excited for tonight. Turn this mic down just a tad. Yeah, I hope you're excited to be here tonight, listening to us tonight. Give me just a second. I gotta adjust this real quick. Let's see if that makes things a little better. I think that sounds a little better. I have a deep voice and I shouldn't sound like I'm speaking through a tin can. All right, there we go. We're going to get started. Sorry, I apologize for the delay there. But welcome to Mayfield Drive Baptist Church, a Wednesday evening Bible study. And we are continuing with our study, Answers for Modern Christian Questions. And we're on a sidebar of that, and we're actually looking at ruling the world from hell. And tonight, we get to look at Anton Szandor LaVey. Anybody doesn't know who he is? Founded the Church of Satan, author of the Satanic Bible. So, interesting, very interesting individual. And if you believe that, I got a bridge in Arizona to sell you. All right, so beginning with our normal introduction, there are many times questions are asked for which those of the quote-unquote church are unable to answer. This is one major thing that turns away a large percentage of people because they come away with the impression that people who are in the church either cannot answer their questions or worse still don't care. We probably ought to get Brother John to just add this in at the beginning of the video, but that just gives one more thing for him to try to work out. In the questioner's eyes, this is a major failure because the church has nothing to offer to them in any form. Therefore, they turn away and are not receptive to anything that resembles something spiritual. Within this series, we will address some of the questions that the church seems unwilling to or cannot answer. These are questions that many young adults never seem to get answered, causing them to turn away and seek something else. And again, like I said, we are on our sidebar of these questions, and we're looking at individuals who are ruling the world from hell. And obviously, they have to be dead to do so. Can't rule the world from hell unless you are dead. But Anton Szandor LaVey, I don't know why he chose the SZ to do that. I guess he thought that was cool. I don't know. He did actually change his name. But our text verse tonight is Psalm 14:1. And Brother Joe used this same verse last week. But I felt like he couldn't get, I couldn't go anywhere with the verse. I had to leave it. And you'll see why. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. They have done abominable works. There is none that doeth good. This passage fits the subject of our lesson. Just like last week's fit the subject of our lesson, this week's fits the subject of our lesson. And I don't know if you've been paying any attention to these lessons as we've gone through. The individuals we look at all seem to fit these verses. I don't know how they come about, but that's what happens. We once again return to the list of false teachers who can actually fit the bill of ruling the world from hell. Of course, they're not aware of it, but their false teachings and beliefs are so influential that literally millions of people are still led astray from the actual spiritual truths of God's Word. Now, the person we're going to talk about tonight doesn't have that kind of following like some of the others that we've talked about. But you'll see that he's still ruling the world from hell. Remember, people die, philosophies do not. And this is where a lot of these individuals, the reason why we say they're ruling the world from hell. So tonight we are looking at Anton Szandor LaVey. And there's his mugshot there for you. I'm sorry. I went through a bunch of photos till I finally found one that didn't have him in a pentagram or with horns drawn on his head and all kinds of stupidity going on, just to try to get something that you could actually see what this fool looked like.
He still looks very sinister.
He still looks very sinister. We're going to remind me of his looks in a little while, because we'll talk about that. Antons van der Levy was actually born Howard Stanton Levy, or Levy, not Levy, Levy. You notice they changed the A and then added the, Howard Stanton Levy. That's not very imposing. That's not very sinister at all. You're right. It wasn't pretentious enough. He was born April 11th, 1930, died October 29th, 1997. He was an American author, musician, and Levian Satanist. He was the founder of the Church of Satan, the philosophy of Levian Satanism. He had his own brand of Satanism, and the concept of Satanism as we know it as a religion. He authored several books, including the Satanic Bible, the Satanic Rituals, the Satanic Witch, the Devil's Notebook, and Satan Speaks. And by the way, if you look into it, the Devil's Notebook and Satan Speaks were done after he died. Yes, they were done after he died. One is his letters and articles that he wrote, and the other is essays that he wrote. So it's all his work, but it was just compiled and put out by the Church of Satan after he died. In addition, he released 3 albums, including The Satanic Mass, Satan Takes a Holiday, and Strange Music. And by the way, do not think, excuse me, do not think that this was like heavy metal or something along death metal or something along those lines. Matter of fact, Mr. LeVay couldn't stand rock and roll music, heavy metal, death metal. He couldn't stand it. Hated it. Little interesting sidebar there. He played a minor on-screen role and served as technical advisor for the 1975 film The Devil's Reign, and served as host and narrator for Nick Bogus' 1989 Mondo film Death Scenes. Historian of Satanism, Gareth J. Medway, described LeVay as a quote-unquote born showman, with anthropologist Jean LaFontaine describing him as a colorful figure of considerable personal magnetism. Was very, very, he just had that charisma. We know a lot of people like that, don't we? A lot of people we've looked at so far in this study have been that way. The academic scholars of Satanism, Per Faxneld and Jesper Agard Peterson, describe LeVay as the most iconic figure in the satanic, I don't even know how to say that, milieu? Something like that. What's up with the French stuff with this? Anyway, LeVay was labeled many things by journalists, religious detractors, and Satanists alike, including the father of Satanism, the Saint Paul of Satanism, I don't get that one, the Black Pope, I can get that one, and the evilest man in the world. Don't get that one either. LeVay, you're right. The Jesuit general is actually the Black Pope, but the Pope being the White Pope and LeVay is Satanism, be the Black. I don't know. I'm sure that all of these titles made him just giddy. Oh, yes, he doesn't surprise me. It does not surprise me. He was born Howard Stanton Levy on April 11th, 1930 in Chicago, Illinois. His father, Michael Joseph Levy, born in 1903, died in 1992, lived almost as long as he did. Actually longer. I mean, obviously born earlier, but still lived almost as long as he did. From Chicago, married LeVay's mother, Gertrude Augusta Née Coltron. There you go. There's where the French come in. I don't think that's French. I think that's Creole. Almost sounds Creole. Anyway, moving on. His parents supported his musical interests as he tried a number of instruments. His favorites were keyboards such as the piano and accordion. Anton played piano in a Baptist church as a boy and played oboe in high school. Oboe. That's a. Don't see that coming. Piano to oboe. I don't know. Anyway, he attended Tamalpais High School in Mill Valley, California until the age of 16. He claimed he left high school at age 16 to join the Clyde Beatty Circus and later carnivals, first as a roustabout and cage boy in an act with the big cats, then as a musician playing the Calliope. Oh man, see, I'm glad y'all are here because he played tunes such as Harlem Nocturne by Earl Hagen. LeVay later claimed, y'all notice all these words, claimed. He later claimed to have seen that many of the same men attended both the Bawdy Saturday night shows and the tent revival meetings on Sunday morning, which reinforced his increasingly cynical view of religion. There's probably some truth to that. Excuse me. There's probably a whole lot of truth to that. In the foreword to the German language edition of the Satanic Bible, he cites this as the impetus to defy Christian religion as he knew it. He explains why churchgoers employ moral double standards. However, journalist Lawrence Wright investigated LeVay's background and found no evidence LeVay ever worked in a circus either as a musician or a cage boy. Oops, sorry, went too far. In the winter of 1948, LeVay began to work as an organist in bars, lounges, and nightclubs. This seems more realistic. His genius, quote unquote, on keyboards helped him attain gigs. He claimed to have had a brief affair with the then unknown Marilyn Monroe while playing organ in Los Angeles burlesque houses, stating that she was a dancer at the Mayan Theater at the time. Yes, why am I mentioning all these things? There is a reason why I'm mentioning these things. This was challenged by those who knew Monroe then, as well as the manager of the Mayan, Paul Valentine, who said she had never been one of his dancers, nor had the theater ever been used as a burlesque house. According to his biography, LeVay moved back to San Francisco. He met Carol Lansing in 1950, and they married the following year when Lansing was 15 years old. Lansing gave birth to LeVay's first daughter, Carla LeVay, born in 1952 when she was 17. In order to avoid the Korean War draft, he studied criminology at City College of San Francisco. LeVay then attained a job as a photographer for the San Francisco Police Department, where he worked for 3 years. Wright could find no evidence of LeVay working at this job either. LeVay claimed to have dabbled as a psychic investigator, looking into 800 calls referred to him by SFPD. Later, biographers questioned whether LeVay ever worked with the SFPD, as there are no records substantiating this claim. Again, there's a reason why I'm mentioning all of these things. During this period, LeVay was friends with a number of writers associated with Weird Tales magazine. This is actually true. A picture of him with George Haas, Robert Barber Johnson, and Clark Ashton Smith appears in Blanche Barton's biography, The Secret Life of a Satanist. LaVey and Carol divorced in 1960 after LaVey became involved with Diane Hegarty. Hegarty and LaVey never married, but she was his companion for 24 years and mothered his second daughter, Zena, Galatea Shrek, nay LaVey, Shrek. All right, she was born in 1963. Yes, well, the name was still normal, right? I don't know if that was still normal then. At the end of their relationship, Hegarty sued for palimony. I will tell you what that means in a minute because I had to look it up. And here's where I got that from our good old friend Wikipedia. By the way, you can find a lot of Wikipedia. Not necessarily means that it's true. I took out all of the little numbers beside information that tells you where to find it, but if you go to that website in that particular article, you'll see all those and you can find all the relevant information proving what they say. Palimony is the division of financial assets and real property on the termination of a personal live-in relationship wherein the parties are not legally married. That's what that means. The term palimony is not a legal or historical term, but rather a colloquial portmanteau of the words pal and alimony. There you go. I had to look it up myself. In 1966, he founded the Church of Satan, calling himself its high priest. On Walpurgis Night, April 30th, a traditional night of revelry in Northern Europe and Scandinavia. You see a whole lot of pieces to this puzzle coming together. 3 years later, he published the Satanic Bible, in which he set down the teachings and rituals of his church. LaVey presented Satanism not as a practice of evil or as the worship of an actual antichrist, but as a kind of ethical egoism. All right. I got to say this. I have to. I don't have to say this. What we like to think of him, and don't get me wrong, I'm not talking him up in any way. But when you think of black robes and sacrificing babies and all that kind of Satanism, that was not this guy. That was not this guy. I'll leave that there. According to LaVey, traditional religions were fundamentally hypocritical and dangerously inhibited the physical tendencies and emotional needs that were vital to human life. Are you catching on what I'm talking about now? Okay? Again, like I said, sacrificing babies and all that dark magic, black, the opposite of the Wiccan, which we'll look at the person that started that in a few weeks. That'll be one of the individuals that's ruling the world from hell. He's not the black side of that whole Satanism stuff. He likes to think he is, but much more nefarious. He claimed that his brand of Satanism was inspired by his having noticed as a teenager that the men he saw at church on Sunday praying to God for absolution were the same ones he'd seen at burlesque shows on Saturday night. LaVey's Satanism was, in fact, atheistic. So not only did he not believe in God, but he didn't believe in the devil either. Again, like I said, when you think of Satanism, how we as a child of God would think of Satanism, that's not this guy. The opposition between God and Satan represented for him the struggle between hypocrisy and repression on the one hand and indulgence and liberation on the other. Now are you understanding a little more? LaVey was also not a nihilist. I looked that word up, and I'll tell you what that word means in a minute. He instructed his followers to obey the law, and he taught that indulgence and pleasure could be beneficial only if it did not harm others. some more puzzle pieces there for you. LaVey's persona was always greater than the Church of Satan. Why is that? Their membership never exceeded about 2,000 people, and which declined when the splinter group, the Temple of Set, formed in 1975 in response to LaVey's selling of higher church offices. Yes, he did that. Oh, you want to be a teacher? Well, a nice financial obligation will get that for you. See the look in someone's eyes. Yeah. That was found in the Britannica.com biography. Nihilism, from the Latin word nihil, nothing. Originally a philosophy of moral and yeah, say it real loud so the microphone can pick you up. There we go, thank you. Skepticism, I can say the second word. Skepticism. That rose in 19th century Russia during the early years of the reign of Tsar Alexander II. There's your, hey, those Britannicas still work. According to LaVey himself, on April 30th, 1966, he ritualistically shaved his head, allegedly in the tradition of ancient executioners. Remember I said we'd talk about how sinister he looked. Declared the founding of the Church of Satan and proclaimed 1966 as the year one. Anno Satanis, the first year of the age of Satan. LaVey's image has been described as Mephistophelian and may have been inspired by an occult-themed episode of the television show The Wild Wild West titled The Night of the Druid's Blood, which originally aired on March 25th, 1966, and starred Don Rickles as the evil magician and satanic cult leader Asmodeus, whose Mephistophelian persona is virtually identical to that which LaVey adopted 1 month later. Another puzzle piece for you. Historian of Satanism Gareth J. Medway described LaVey as, remember we read this before, we'll read it again, a born showman. Now the pieces starting to come together, right? With anthropologist Jean Lafontaine describing him as a colorful figure of considerable personal magnetism. It's really coming together now. Amen? Medway contrasted LaVey from the likes of Jim Jones, David Koresh, and Charles Manson. You don't know who those are, right? Walking the same lines. Waco. In the 90s. Waco, Texas in the 90s. Noting that whereas the latter three were charismatic leaders of apocalyptic communes, within the Church of Satan, no one hung on to LaVey's every word, and church members were allowed considerable autonomy, end quote. But the rest was so much alike. The academic scholars per Foxneld and Jesper Agard Peterson described LaVey as the most iconic figure in the satanic milieu. Yeah. That does not look like Hooked on Phonics to me. Here's another one of those names. Well, this individual. Yes, yes. Asbjorn Durendal described him as the founder of modern Satanism. Again, all of these things are why we put him in the category of ruling the world from hell. As you can see, they never had a big following in his church. His church was never big. Still to this day, it's not. They got less than 5,000 members worldwide, according to Pew Research. In his 2001 examination of Satanists, the sociologist James R. Lewis noted that, to his surprise, his findings consistently pointed to the centrality of LaVey's influence on modern Satanism. As a result, he concluded that, despite his heavy dependence on prior thinkers, another puzzle piece, LaVey was directly responsible for the genesis of Satanism as a serious religious as opposed to a purely literary movement. His books, The Satanic Bible and The Satanic Rituals, have been cited as having, quote unquote, an influence far beyond the Church of Satan's membership.
Hence the reason he's ruling the world from hell.
Exactly. Hence the reason he's in our list of ruling the world from hell. It was not what he did. It was not who he was. These right here is why he's on. And I promise you, when he opened his eyes in hell, it was not what he thought it would be. Now, what books did this guy write? We are almost done, I'll be honest. There's a whole lot of information. I could have thrown at you so much more information about this fool. But that was the handle. So, books by LaVey. Not that I suggest you buy them, look at them, purchase them, anything. But just so you know what they are. The first one, The Satanic Bible, that he wrote in 1969. Yes?
I knew that book in Rumford, in my office. One of the women that I first met when we moved to Rumford was friends of the family.
Mm-hmm.
She brought that book to my office. And when I walked in the office, and I walked into the front room, and I saw that book, I had to go back and pray. Because I knew that book carried what we didn't want in that office.
Agreed. But let me say, like I said before, when you think of Satanism as what we know Satan is, and Satanism truly is, that's not what he was.
Meaning, however, that Satan couldn't take those things that he did and
Correct. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's not what he made it out to be. Hence the reason why he is so famous. He was just an entertainer. He was just an entertainer. Playing a part. Monetarily filling his pockets. Allowing him to live a life of debauchery. Whatever goes, as long as nobody gets hurt. That was his philosophy. The satanic rituals, all of these things were, yes, can be used by Satan, will be used by Satan, and are being used by Satan, and have been used by Satan since he published them. A fool. Hence the reason I call him a fool. The Satanic Witch in 1989. The Devil's Notebook in 1992. Just by the way, as he was running out of money, he would do another book. Satan Speaks in 1998, after he had passed. Letters from the Devil in 2010, long after he had passed. All right. Conclusion. Have I upset you yet about this guy? Have I saddened you yet about this guy? You should be saddened by this guy. From all the lives that he has influenced through his books, his teachings. He's the father of modern day Satanism.
He developed the tools that Satan has been using to further his agenda.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. Satan's been using it. You know what's funny is everybody knew Satanism was out there. That was that hush-hush thing you didn't talk about. He brought it mainstream. Now people openly perform, worship Satan. The funny thing is he didn't openly worship Satan. He didn't even believe in him. For him, it was a means to an end. As you might have seen numerous times throughout the material presented here tonight, this man was full of himself. That's all he cared about. He didn't worship Satan. Nowhere in any of that will you find where he's worshiping Satan. It's all about me. His religious views were not so much Satanism, what it really is, as they were designed to set himself up to be a god to this world. Again, all about him. He used the opposite of Christianity to do so. Again, he chose to do that, knowing that those things that he wanted to do, the lifestyle he wanted to live, was opposite what Christianity stood for. So he chose to make it a religion. You might have noticed that most of his biography was false. There's very few parts in his biography that are actually true. Not even the women he was with was true. The ones he had kids with, and he had 3 children, 3 girls, with 3 different women. Those are the only parts about his personal life that were true. And his parents. And where he was born. Ain't a whole lot more of it true. Right. Yeah, say it again so everybody can hear it.
Probably because he knew that if he had told the truth, no one would find it interesting.
That's exactly right. It was all a show. He was a showman. That's why I use that picture, even though that picture is a show. One of the least showy ones I could find. So, you may have noticed that most of his biography was false, and in the numerous articles that I read, he was a habitual liar. The man couldn't help himself but lie. He just couldn't stop lying. Funny story. His 3rd daughter, youngest daughter, published a book about her father. And in it proved that almost all of his biography was a lie. Almost everything he said was a lie. Narcissist. That's it. That's it. It's all about him. Reminds me of the old saying, how do you know he's lying? His lips are moving. I believe that we can now see why this man fits the bill for those that rule the world from hell. Can't you? Like I said, I gave you where I found all the information, and that's just a drop in the bucket. Guy lived a while. 60-something years. Didn't accomplish much, but he lived high on the hog while he was here. But sadly, he's now ruling the world from hell. And with that, I'm going to open the floor. Any questions, comments? Questions? That's right. That's right. That's right. He was famous for that. He was famous for that. For helping people present themselves, selling themselves. I took a course or a workshop, not a course, in my former job. I was sent for a workshop that we had to do on how to public speak. I learned a lot from it, but it's the same thing. How to sell yourself, how to present the information without turning people away. And in his case, it was how to sell him. And he had a specific niche that he was aiming for, and he found it. And he knew it was out there, and he found it. And he worked it. But because of that, that niche has grown. And it's now commonplace. And it's nothing new to hear about lawsuits by the Satan. That's what they're known for now, is lawsuits against places of worship, quote unquote Christian places of worship. That's what they're known for. Not so much what they believe, because nobody really knows what they believe unless you read the trash. You know, otherwise, nobody really knows what they believe. Don't ask me what they believe. I did not want to get into what they believe. Okay? I got no desire to try to look at what they believe. Just what they stand for was enough. That's enough for me. Any other questions, comments? Yes?
Of all the ones that y'all have presented that displayed the fact that people die, but philosophies don't, this one most assuredly fits the bill.
Oh, yes. Definitely. Definitely. All right, any other comments?
Makes me wonder
What the other $2 opinions were? I don't know. I don't know. All I do know is, like I said, the third daughter published her own book about her dad and basically threw him to the wolves. Kind of like Westcott and Hort's sons. I guess she's like, I'm going to cash in on his evilness or whatever. His name. Let's hope she became a Baptist. True. All right. Brother Joe, would you close us in a word of prayer, please, sir?
We here at International Missionary Baptist Ministries are so thankful that you chose to watch or listen to this Wednesday evening Bible study. We will be broadcasting again at this same time next week. If you wish to contact us, we can be reached via email at imbr@imbmpodcasts.com. Our mailing address is International Missionary Baptist Radio, P.O. Box 1676, Smyrna, Tennessee, 37167. Again, I repeat, our email address is imbr@imbmpodcasts.com. Podcast is plural there. Our snail mail is International Missionary Baptist Radio, P.O. Box 1676, Smyrna, Tennessee, 37167. 167. We thank you so very much for watching or listening. We hope that this was a blessing to you.